All right, today we're trying something new. It's like a mini panel. Okie dokie, the topic for today is worship. I'm gonna have all you guys scoot in, so there's like not. So everyone off the chairs, come fill this spot. Everyone in the back, scoot up like 10 times. Yeah. Scoot in, twos from the side. Come on, scoot in, keep scooting in, scoot in. Scoot in, scoot in, scoot in, scoot in. All right. All right, I'm going to preface this. We're talking about worship. We have all been leading, or just been on the worship team since like 3rd grade, I think. That's when me and Joy started, I think.
Yeah.
And we started leading together, I think, in 6th grade retreat. Yeah, and so since then. And so this message of worship isn't coming from a place where we think we're better than you or we know more. It's just like we've been so blessed to have this opportunity to lead worship. And we've learned a lot. I know I learned a lot in my journey. We've all had different journeys, but if there's any way we can impart stuff that we've learned to you guys, then that would be amazing. I think we started talking about like, as seniors, like what we want to leave behind. And worship is so vital to this school, so vital to our walks with Jesus, so just wanting to share that with you guys. We have a few like kind of prompts we're going to be following along. The first one is, what is worship? And I guess I'll go first, and then we'll just jump around. What is worship? Worship to Jesus is our expression of love, our expression of gratitude to Him. It can look like a lot of different things. A lot of people kind of think worship is just when you're singing the songs, or, yeah, worship is like in church, but worship is reflected in everything you do. And I feel like that's my biggest takeaway for worship. I'll probably be coming back to that this whole session, is that worship is a lifestyle and it's something you live by. And with that, what is the heart of worship? One of my favorite Bible characters when you think of worship is definitely David, because he wrote like all the Psalms. And so with that, David's heart of worship was not just that he did the right things, because he definitely didn't, but it was that he returned to worship when he was doing well, and he returned to worship when he wasn't doing well. And just that response of, no matter what's going on, my response is going to be worship. Like that's, I feel like where our heart of worship comes from. That David was a shepherd boy and he was worshiping. David killed Goliath and wasn't praised by everyone, but he still went to worship. David was running from Saul and his response was worship. David was king and his response was still worship. So just, I feel like the heart of worship is that in every phase of life you're in, that your go-to is to worship.
I think for me, I looked up something that kind of says it. It's like to honor, show deep reverence, and ascribe worth. And that last one, ascribe worth, is what stands out to me about worship, what it is. I've been worshiping since I was little because my dad's a pastor, so I've like been around singing and doing stuff like that. And a picture that I really like for worship is like a dad, and then you know when you like draw like a really ugly drawing, or like not ugly, but like, you know, when you're a kid, and then you show your father and you're like, look, I made this especially for you, and he's like, wow, that's amazing. I feel like that's what worship is to me, and what it's always been, because it's like God's love for us is shown in like what life is and His sacrifice for us, kind of like what Miss Shepherd was talking about yesterday. Like He gave His life so that we can have ours. So that's like His gift to us, and then our gift to Him is worship. And it's just like, it's crazy to me how like small that is. Like it's like that drawing. It's like so much smaller. Like we can never give Him what the worth that He's due, but worship is just ascribing like worth and to the Lord. And I feel like because we were made to worship, because we were like God created us to worship, we're gonna end up worshiping something. It's like the things that you value the most, you're gonna show love to. So I feel like, simply put, it's like the thing that you value the most. If you value God above all else, then you're gonna be showing Him love and living a life that reflects that.
Yeah, I want to add, just I feel like what worship to me, like what that seems like to me, I kind of touched on this in my life message a little bit, but I feel like it's this like time and this expression where we get to fill like our life's eternal purpose. Like we're created for worship ultimately, and I think something about like when you're there and you surrender and you're just like, okay, God, like whether it's like physical worship like we do every single morning, or whether it's like the way that we live, it's something about it when we do it the way that God like asks us to and the way that He's worthy of, like it's so fulfilling for us because it is our life's like eternal purpose. It's what we're created to be, and it fills something inside of us that also glorifies Him. And I don't know, I think worship is just so beautiful. And,
something I do want to add is just the idea that, because I was just thinking about this yesterday, like everything gives glory to God, right? And then with worship, it's like God gave us the freedom to choose what we ascribe worth to. So I just thought that was really cool because I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, all creation is singing, like the rocks are crying out, like everything is already glorifying God. Like we're glorifying God with our breaths because we're pointing back to Him. Like just us being here is already pointing to God. But then God gives us the freedom to decide what we worship or what we ascribe worth to. So I just think it's so cool that it's like an intentionality with it, and it's like when the world doesn't choose God and we choose Him, that's what worship is all about, like choosing to give glory to God instead of just like inherently giving glory to Him, if that makes sense, just like with who you are.
And I feel like you can give worship to things that are not Jesus. So a lot of people think like you're worshiping Jesus or you're not, but you're either worshiping Jesus or you're worshiping other things. And so worship is this overflow of your priorities. And if your priorities are not Jesus, then your worship will look like giving all your time to something else. And if your priorities are lined up, then you'll make space to spend time with Jesus. You'll make space to worship Him because you make space for the things that are important to you. And if, like, you can come up with all the excuses, like how busy we are, especially as TDA students if we're involved in a lot of things. But at the end of the day, if Jesus is your priority, you're going to make time and space to worship Him. Cool. The next one is a little bit about our walk with our journey of worship and just how, like, maybe things we've struggled with as worship leading and how we overcame that.
I think for me, just the biggest struggle in worship is like, I have trouble focusing, it's like when you're up here, it's really weird because it's like sometimes the room isn't feeling it and you're feeling it, or it's like the other way around, like you're not feeling it that day. So for me, it's like a thing about consistency and always giving God my best, and also like trying to focus on Him completely and not like having fear of man and all of that. And something I've learned over time, because I wasn't always this confident on stage, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys know that. Like, I'd get so nervous. Like, every high note, I'd be like, oh my gosh, please, please, please. Like, when I was younger, it was so bad. And I feel like the thing that really helped me is just knowing who it's for. And everyone says that, it's like, just for Jesus, like, only look at Him. But I think that's the biggest thing that helped me in my walk, is just getting closer to God, doing like other things, because there's like prayer and like fasting and all those other things, and like reading the Bible and stuff like that. Like, once you know who God is, then you're gonna realize the value of worshiping Him, and it's gonna be so much easier to just look at Him instead of what's around you. And that helped a lot, especially if I was feeling something on stage, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. It's like, once you know who God is, you're like, wow, I have the fear of the Lord, like I know what I need to do and who I'm doing it for, and that just helps me a lot.
For worship for me has been a huge journey. It kind of connects to my life message of, if you weren't there, a lot of it was like my longing to please others. And for me, worship team was this kind of mask I could hide behind to make it look like I had everything together. And so I felt this disconnect between what I wanted other people to see versus what I was actually feeling. And I had my biggest struggle with worship leading was, I don't want it to be fake, so why would I pretend to be engaged if I'm not feeling it? But then what I've learned through that is worship, like when David commands his soul to worship, like part of my worship is choosing to come up on stage even when I don't feel like it. Part of my worship is choosing to, Jesus, I really am not feeling like it, but I'm gonna close my eyes, I'm gonna worship you, because worship is not how I'm feeling, it's what you're worthy of. So, yeah, for me in my walk, the biggest thing has been, like, Jesus, I'm going to worship you no matter the circumstance. And, yeah, like, it doesn't really matter what I think other people are thinking of me, because it's not for them.
Yeah, really quick. I feel like, for me, worship leading wise, I feel like I could like speak into both what Noah and Raina said. It was like the fear of man, and then just this like this fake, I don't know, like this wanting to like be someone different up here and like hide behind the idea of leading worship, and then also like focusing. And I think something like this semester especially I've struggled with, I feel like you get into like that third quarter slump, and then it's like, oh, we're just going to assembly, we'll just sing the songs, da 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 da. But I'm just going through the motions. But I think especially as a senior this year, I've been like, oh my gosh, like we have what 50-something days left until then, like until graduation day, and just how like blessed we are to wake up every morning and come and worship. And I think when people leave and when people come, they think, like they always say that that's the most special thing about TDA is how we start with our worship. And I think just not taking it for granted, like that has been like my biggest thing, is taking it for granted, not like cherishing each moment. So I feel like recently I go into worship, if I start feeling myself like fading out or like not focusing, I'll say, Jesus, like show me your face, help me seek your face. And I'll like literally try to picture like Jesus's face, and just because I'm fixing my eyes on Jesus, like Mrs. Lee always says, and it's like you're centering your heart posture on him, you're centering your eyes on him so that you can devote your worship to him. So I think that's, yeah.
I think we had more, but maybe that's for a different day because we have to wrap this up. So maybe we'll just each give our biggest takeaway with worship, and I think mine is definitely, I like what Joy just ended with keeping our eyes on Jesus, because as we fix our eyes on Jesus, and as our heart is in the right place, then worship will flow out of that. And it will be reflected in our lives. Like you can't just worship in assembly and then live completely different. Because if your worship is really for Jesus, then it will reflect in every area of your life. So that's my biggest takeaway.
I think for me, just the biggest thing is just like knowing Jesus and who he is first, and then like through that love for Jesus that you have, just giving him glory and honor, and just like a bridegroom loving a bride, everyone says that, or like the other way around. It's like you love him and you're giving him what he's due, even though you can't even give him like a pinch of what he gives to us. And I feel like it's just so beautiful. Yeah, I think that's just my biggest takeaway, is just looking at Jesus and knowing who he is when you're worshiping.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is probably just the first thing I said was like how it's our eternal purpose and how fulfilling it is when we not only worship him in the way that we, like the songs that we sing in assembly, things like that, but in our lifestyle, the way that we live things out. And I think ultimately it's what we're created for, and it glorifies God, and he's so worthy of it, and we should never question whether he's worthy of our worship.
All right, yay.